Some wrestlers were once hailed as future legends. But then, they vanished. Not because of injury. Not because their time was up. But because they set fire to their own careers through serious mistakes. From backstage scandals and ethical violations to shocking criminal charges, these individuals weren't just fired, they became permanent outcasts in WWE. They had everything in their hands, yet they were the ones who let it all slip away. Today, we're looking back at the downfalls that got them erased from the world of wrestling, for good. Alberto Del Rio. There was a time when the name Alberto Del Rio was seen as the bright future of WWE. He had everything needed to become a global superstar, a charismatic look, an MMA background, and a legacy rooted in one of Mexico's most prestigious lucha libre families. Within just his first year in WWE, Del Rio accomplished what few had ever done. He won the Royal Rumble, captured the Money in the Bank briefcase, and became WWE champion. These achievements not only cemented his status but made him the most promising figure in the company at that time. With his signature aristocratic persona and magnetic in-ring presence, Del Rio was considered a perfect product, crafted by WWE to shine on the world stage. However, his path to stardom quickly unraveled when controversies outside the ring began to surface, dragging him from the top straight down to rock bottom. In 2014, Del Rio was released from WWE after slapping a backstage employee over a remark reportedly laced with racial overtones. While many fans believed he was standing up for his dignity and didn't deserve the punishment, WWE management didn't condone the impulsive act. Surprisingly, the company brought him back just a year later, but this return lacked the same spotlight. Del Rio was sidelined into lackluster storylines and was no longer seen as a main event player. His personal life soon spiraled into a public nightmare. His controversial relationship with fellow wrestler Paige became a media circus. The couple frequently appeared in heated argument videos, and accusations of emotional abuse and excessive control followed. Paige once accused Del Rio of physical abuse. Though she later retracted the claim, the damage to his reputation had already been done. Her family also publicly warned of the dangers she faced while with him. After being released from WWE for a second time, Del Rio wrestled for smaller promotions like Impact Wrestling, even managing to win championship titles. But old habits resurfaced. He regularly missed scheduled appearances, frustrating promoters and eventually leading to another termination, even while he was still holding a championship belt. His biggest downfall came in 2020, when he was arrested on serious charges of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a woman over several hours. Though the court later ruled there wasn't enough evidence to convict him, his career was effectively over. Sponsors pulled out, his name vanished from major events, and the wrestling world treated him as persona non grata. Even in his homeland of Mexico, where he was once celebrated as a national icon, Del Rio couldn't maintain his image. In March 2025, he sparked more outrage after getting into a physical altercation with a fan at a AAA event, leading to a 6-month suspension by local athletic commissions. As of now, the only person still willing to support his return to the ring is Konnan, a veteran figure in the industry. Yet even this loyalty has drawn backlash, with fans criticizing AAA for giving Del Rio another chance. Alberto Del Rio once had everything a wrestler could dream of: talent, opportunity, and glory. But poor choices and a pattern of self-destruction turned him into a cautionary tale, an example of how a star can lose it all by his own hand. Ryback. There was a time when Ryback was seen as WWE's next-generation monster. With his hulking physique, aggressive in-ring style, and an aura that reminded many of Goldberg, Ryback wasn't just a rising star. He was a tidal wave crashing into WWE in the early 2010s. His catchphrase, "Feed me more," echoed through arenas, becoming a symbol of relentless hunger and fighting spirit. WWE placed a lot of faith in him. At one point, the company even considered making him WWE champion at Hell in a Cell 2012, a moment that could have altered the course of his career. But instead of becoming WWE's new kingpin, Ryback's trajectory began to veer off course. According to Ryback himself, the downfall started with Vince McMahon's inconsistency. He claimed Vince made repeated promises to push him to the top, only to backtrack at the last minute without explanation. Ryback felt betrayed, and that's where the cracks began to show. By 2016, tensions had escalated into a full-blown contract dispute. Ryback didn't exit quietly. He went public, calling out WWE's pay structure and how the company treated its wrestlers. He argued that performers like him, hard-working and popular, were still underpaid compared to more established names. However, instead of rallying support, Ryback gradually lost public sympathy because of how he handled things. His criticism shifted from fair points to personal attacks. John Cena, Triple H, and other respected veterans became frequent targets in his podcasts and social media rants. The lowest point came when Ryback referenced Vince McMahon's late mother in crude, offensive terms, venting his anger in a way that crossed every line. That wasn't speaking his truth anymore, it was total scorched earth. Ryback didn't just burn bridges, he burned the entire mountain behind him. Since then, Ryback has become persona non grata in WWE. No talks, no offers, no chances of a return. While he remains active on podcasts and social media, his wrestling career is effectively over. Ryback once had it all: the look, the presence, the crowd's backing. But sometimes, all it takes is one spark to burn everything down. In the wrestling world, being outspoken can be brave, but if you don't know when to stop, the price might be your entire career. Sable. During WWE's legendary Attitude Era, Sable stood out as one of the company's biggest female superstars, not just among the women, but across the entire roster. She was as popular and recognizable as many of WWE's top male names at the time. Debuting in 1996 alongside her real-life husband Mark Merrow, few expected that she would quickly surpass him in both popularity and influence. With her striking looks and undeniable sex appeal, Sable became WWE's ultimate sex symbol, regularly featured in main segments and cheered wildly by fans. Her career hit its peak when she appeared on the cover of Playboy magazine, a milestone that cemented her status as a cultural icon. But behind the glamour and spotlight, the reality was far less dazzling. In 1999, at the height of her fame, Sable shocked the wrestling world by suddenly leaving WWE and filing a massive $110 million lawsuit against the company. She accused WWE of sexual harassment, discrimination, and creating an unsafe working environment for women. The lawsuit sent shockwaves through the industry, exposing the darker side of WWE's treatment of female performers during that era, a topic the company had long avoided. Though the case was eventually settled out of court, her relationship with WWE was deeply damaged. Surprisingly, however, the company welcomed her back in 2003, during the Ruthless Aggression era. Returning with a more mature persona, Sable took part in several on-screen storylines, most notably a rivalry with Torrie Wilson. She even had a memorable on-screen alliance with Vince McMahon, showing that WWE still knew how to capitalize on her star power. But this comeback was short-lived. Just a year later, she quietly stepped away from WWE again, this time for good. Since then, Sable has been almost completely erased from WWE's official history. She has never been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame and is reportedly blacklisted from other honors and tributes. What angered fans the most came in 2019, when Torrie Wilson was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Despite their close friendship both on and off-screen, WWE reportedly forbade Wilson from mentioning Sable's name during her speech. So, what really happened? These days, Sable lives a quiet life with her husband Brock Lesnar, a man known for his private lifestyle and aversion to the spotlight outside the ring. Perhaps Lesnar doesn't want her involved with WWE again, or maybe Vince McMahon still hasn't forgotten the lawsuit that once shook the company. Now, she spends her days raising their children in peace, far from the bright lights of wrestling, as if the golden chapters of her WWE legacy were never written at all. Enzo Amore. Enzo Amore was once one of the most charismatic and colorful personalities in WWE. With his sharp mic skills, flashy fashion sense, and an unapologetically loud attitude, Enzo quickly won over fans, especially during his partnership with Big Cass. The duo became one of the most popular tag teams in NXT and later on the main roster, despite never capturing tag team gold. Every time they appeared, it felt like a full-blown entertainment segment. Catchphrases like "Certified G" and "How you doin'" became synonymous with their act. Enzo wasn't just good on the mic, he was a master at energizing the crowd. But the same mouth that made him a star also became his biggest liability. Behind the scenes, Enzo developed a reputation for being disrespectful. He was known for making inappropriate jokes, disregarding locker room etiquette, and acting as though the world revolved around him. One of the most well-known incidents involved Roman Reigns, a powerful figure backstage, kicking Enzo off the wrestler's tour bus during a European tour. No one stood up for him, and no apology was ever made. It was a clear sign that Enzo had become an outcast among his peers. However, what ultimately led to his WWE exit wasn't his backstage behavior, but a serious allegation from outside the ring. In early 2018, Enzo was accused of sexual assault. WWE had no prior knowledge of the investigation until the news broke publicly, just hours before the Raw 25 special. The company immediately suspended him. But the real deal-breaker came when they learned that Enzo had failed to inform WWE that he was under investigation. Within 24 hours, he was fired and removed from all ongoing storylines. Although the case was eventually dismissed due to insufficient evidence, Enzo's WWE career was beyond repair. Instead of laying low, he made headlines again by disguising himself as a fan and causing a disruption in the crowd during Survivor Series 2018. Security escorted him out of the building, and WWE responded by banning him from all future events, even as a paying spectator. Since then, Enzo has wrestled on the independent circuit under the name Real One and pursued a rap career. Though he has hinted at reuniting with Big Cass, now W. Morrissey in AEW, a return to WWE seems virtually impossible. Enzo once had it all: talent, personality, and the crowd firmly behind him. But an unchecked ego and reckless behavior ultimately led him to sabotage his own career. Sunny. In WWE history, few have risen as high and fallen as hard as Tammy Lynn Sytch, better known to the wrestling world as Sunny. Once hailed as WWE's original diva, she wasn't just the first woman to introduce sex appeal to the company. She became a true cultural icon of the 1990s. During the Attitude Era, Sunny was everywhere. She graced magazine covers, topped download charts on AOL, a feat unheard of for any female wrestler at the time, and captivated fans with her sharp looks, natural camera presence, and unmatched charisma. Long before the term divas existed, she had already set the gold standard for women in WWE. But the glamour didn't last. After leaving WWE in 1998, Tammy's life spiraled into chaos. Instead of building on her fame, she dove into a path filled with temptation and self-destruction. Over the next 2 decades, her legal record piled up with charges ranging from DUIs and assault to theft and repeated probation violations. Each arrest made headlines, not for achievements, but for scandals. Despite her mounting troubles, WWE inducted her into the Hall of Fame in 2011, a move that sparked heavy criticism. Many felt it was an undeserved honor for someone whose professional and personal life had become so unraveled. Things reached a tragic peak in March 2022, when Sunny was involved in a fatal car crash in Florida that killed a 75-year-old man. At the time of the accident, her blood alcohol level was over 3 times the legal limit. The victim's death, coupled with her long history of legal issues, pushed public opinion beyond the point of forgiveness. In November 2023, Tammy was sentenced to 17 years in prison for DUI manslaughter, along with an additional 8 years of probation after her release. It marked not just the end of her wrestling legacy, but a grim reminder of the consequences of losing control. Once a sex symbol and trailblazing female legend in WWE, she is now a name the company won't even mention. WWE has cut all ties, removed her from programming, and her Hall of Fame induction now hangs like a shadow, a painful reminder of what could have been. Sunny's downfall isn't just a tale of a fallen star, it's a stark example that talent alone can't protect you from the consequences of your actions. And when you squander even your second chances, sometimes there's no road back. Velvetine Dream. Velvetine Dream was once considered one of WWE's rare gems, a young talent with all the makings of a future megastar. Born Patrick Clark Jr., he had it all: striking looks, captivating stage presence, and promo skills far beyond his years. From a tough-enough contestant, Clark transformed into Velvetine Dream, a flamboyant, enigmatic character inspired by the eccentric artistry of Prince, yet uniquely his own. In 2019, Dream reached the pinnacle of his career, winning the NXT North American Championship and becoming one of the brand's top stars. Every appearance was an event, from his movements and flamboyant outfits to his razor-sharp mic work. Even John Cena once praised him as the next big thing in WWE. But that promising rise came crashing down in just a matter of months. In 2020, Dream became embroiled in serious controversy after being accused of sending inappropriate messages and explicit images to underage fans. While WWE claimed to have conducted an internal investigation and found no conclusive evidence, Dream quietly vanished from television and stopped being promoted. A name once seen as the future of WWE was suddenly pushed to the sidelines, without explanation. By May 2021, WWE officially released Velvetine Dream. Clark adamantly denied all allegations, but the damage to his reputation was already done. Fans turned on him, business partners cut ties, and the praise once showered upon him was replaced with doubt and disappointment. Things only worsened after his release. Patrick Clark was arrested multiple times for disorderly conduct, assault, and probation violations. His name became taboo in the wrestling world, with major promotions unwilling to take a risk on him despite his undeniable talent. Just when it seemed his career was over for good, Velvetine Dream resurfaced in early 2024. In an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Clark addressed the dark chapter of his life for the first time. He denied all allegations and claimed his WWE exit stemmed from internal disputes, not scandal. He publicly apologized and expressed his desire for a fresh start. Soon after, he returned to the ring with Maryland Championship Wrestling, wrestling at several smaller events. However, the wrestling community remained deeply divided. Some believed he deserved a second chance, while others firmly argued that someone with such serious allegations should not be welcomed back. At just 28 years old, Velvetine Dream has already lived a career arc few could imagine, from NXT's brightest star to a name nearly erased from WWE history. Not with a dramatic fall, but with a slow fade into controversy and silence. Tessa Blanchard. Tessa Blanchard was once seen as the face of a new generation of female wrestlers, a rare talent with the pedigree, presence, and in-ring ability to reach the very top. As the daughter of WWE Hall of Famer Tully Blanchard, she not only carried a legendary bloodline but quickly proved she could stand on her own. With a hard-hitting style, commanding personality, and magnetic performances, Tessa rapidly became one of the most talked-about names in the industry. In 2020, she made history by becoming the first woman to win the World Championship at Impact Wrestling, a title traditionally reserved for male competitors. It should have been the moment that launched her into the conversation with wrestling's biggest icons. But just days before her crowning achievement, everything began to unravel. Allegations from fellow female wrestlers exploded across social media. Tessa was accused of backstage bullying and racism, including a serious claim that she spat on and used a racial slur toward a black wrestler during a tour of Japan. Though she quickly denied the accusations, the backlash only grew as more women stepped forward to support the claims, painting a picture of arrogance and disrespect behind the scenes. Suddenly, the trailblazing champion became a lightning rod for outrage. And the next blow came from her own company. Impact stripped her of the title and released her after she refused to cooperate with remote filming requests during the pandemic. Being fired while still holding the company's top championship made it clear the relationship had completely broken down. Since then, no major promotion in North America has been willing to sign her, despite her undeniable skill. She briefly resurfaced with Women of Wrestling, but that stint ended quickly due to internal conflicts. With limited options, Tessa turned to Mexico, securing a modest role with CMLL, no longer the centerpiece, but still active in the ring. Then, in a surprising twist, TNA Wrestling invited her back in 2024. The announcement sparked immediate controversy, dividing fans online. Many opposed her return, arguing that she never truly took responsibility for her past behavior. Still, TNA stood firm, placing her in major storylines and giving her a second chance. But the shadow of her past lingers. Tessa Blanchard may be back under the spotlight, and she may even reclaim some of her former glory, but the reputation that once defined her now follows her like a scar. And for many, she remains a cautionary tale, that even the brightest talent can't always save a legacy damaged by your own actions. Aries. Austin Aries was once considered one of the top technical wrestlers of the modern era, a performer any promotion could confidently build around. With an impressive resume featuring major championships in both ROH and TNA, combined with elite in-ring skills and sharp mic work, Aries seemed to have everything needed to become a cornerstone anywhere he went. But it was that same oversized ego that turned him into one of the most polarizing figures in professional wrestling. When he joined WWE in 2016, Aries quickly made waves in NXT and later on 205 Live. His matches were consistently praised by critics and fans alike. But behind the curtain, things weren't as smooth. Many backstage felt that Aries constantly believed he wasn't being used to his full potential, a belief that often translated into negativity and friction with colleagues and management. Just a year later, Aries abruptly left WWE. Officially, it was framed as a voluntary departure. But those within the business knew the truth. It stemmed from ongoing tension with the creative team and other wrestlers. It wasn't that people doubted his talent. It was that he had become increasingly difficult to work with. His 2018 return to Impact Wrestling seemed like a fresh start. But that opportunity collapsed spectacularly at Bound for Glory. After losing a title match to Johnny Impact, Aries immediately stood up, no-sold the finisher, and walked out as if nothing had happened. The blatant break of kayfabe was seen as a direct insult, not just to his opponent, but to the promotion and the fans. It was more than just unprofessional. It was a career killer. Worse still, during the rise of the speaking out movement, Aries was named in several disturbing accounts involving inappropriate behavior toward women. These stories suggested his issues went far beyond arrogance, crossing into serious ethical concerns. Today, while Aries still has the ability to wrestle, opportunities at major promotions have all but disappeared. In professional wrestling, talent opens the door, but attitude determines how long you stay. And for Austin Aries, the price of unchecked arrogance was an entire career undone by his own actions. David Benois, a legacy he can't escape. In wrestling, names carry power. They define lineage, open doors, and write futures. But for David Benois, his name didn't lead to opportunity. It became a silent curse, a burden he never asked for but can never put down. As the son of Chris Benoit, once hailed as one of the most technically skilled performers in WWE history, David grew up surrounded by wrestling greatness. It wasn't just a dream, it was a way of life. He trained with purpose, fueled by passion, and learned from respected veterans like Chavo Guerrero, Vicky Guerrero, and Chris Jericho. With wrestling in his DNA and the guidance of legends, David seemed destined for the ring. But the industry had other plans. Everything changed in 2007. The name Benoit was scorched into infamy when Chris committed a horrific act, the murder of his wife and son, followed by his own suicide. The wrestling world was stunned, shattered, and forced to reckon with an unthinkable tragedy. WWE responded swiftly and harshly, removing Chris Benoit's matches, banning his name, erasing every trace from company history. He became a ghost in the industry he once defined. But the punishment didn't end with him. David, though innocent and uninvolved, was now carrying a name no company wanted to touch. Despite his skill, drive, and respect for the business, the doors to WWE, AEW, and other major promotions remained firmly shut. The risk was too great. The associations too dark. The name Benoit wasn't just blacklisted, it was feared. David once considered performing under the name Chris Benoit Jr., not to glorify the tragedy, but to honor the part of his father's legacy that was pure, the wrestling genius, the work ethic, the unmatched passion. But even that was considered a line too dangerous to cross. Even with personal support from Jericho and others who knew both Chris and David, no company has taken the chance. Not because David lacks talent, but because the past always arrives before he does. Today, David continues to train in silence. He hasn't given up on his dream, but he lives with the harsh truth that in wrestling, some shadows are too dark to outrun. He is a man with the heart of a wrestler, but chained to a name the industry cannot forgive. And perhaps never will. These stories prove that just one moment of poor judgment can cause an entire career to go up in smoke. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any future content from Wrestling Sphere.